Hello, everyone. I am so excited to have this conversation with Ale in this episode of Revision Chats. So Ale is one of our participants of Revision Journey, and she is Brazilian. She's the older daughter of 6, mother of 2. She's married to Andrew. She has a 25-year career in HR. Has lived and worked in 5 countries, including the UK, the US, Canada, France, and Brazil, her home country. And she is very curious about life and learning and eager to make a contribution. And today we're going to talk about her transition and specifically stepping into new roles as we navigate transition, beautifully exemplified by Ale. So welcome, Ale. It's so nice to be with you today.
Thank you, Anna. I'm very pleased to be able to be here, sharing my journey, and I hope that can generate some insights for some of those that are watching us today. Each journey is unique, right? So that's my own. But we are, I think, as the same way I have related to other people's journey, some people may relate it to mine, and hopefully I can make a contribution there. So thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Yes, I am sure you will inspire many. So to start with, what prompted you to make such a big transition, and what was the transition about? I know part of it was changing countries, but there's more than that. So what led you to have this big transition in your life?
I think I was always curious about life and eager due to something that happened personally to me when I was young. So when I was 12 years old, I lost a brother in a car accident. Mm-hmm. And I think very soon in life, that generated to myself and to my family questions about like, what is life? Why is life like that fragile? We are here today, but we might not be here tomorrow. We actually think we have control of things, but we don't. We have control of the behaviors that we decide to have of things to happen to us. We have control of desiring and wishing good things and trying to learn and evolve. But I was raised with those questions like, what am I here for? What's my mission? How can I make my life meaningful? Mm-hmm. And so I was always like in the search, I think, for something that made sense to me, that had meaning. And I think I have always tried to bring that to my work, people that I've worked with. So my colleagues and my team, they always said, my most common question was, what is this in service for? Like, well, why are we doing this? Like, does it make sense? So, and I've always questioned myself and everything I've done. So that led me to change jobs a few times, searching for a better contribution, of moving countries, of going abroad to study. So, and more recently, because I've met my husband 20 years ago when we did an MBA in France. He's Canadian. And as a couple with dual citizenship, the possibility of coming to Canada was always on the table. And but his father died of cancer at the end of 2020. He came to Canada to spend the last 2 months and a half with his dad. And when he came back, he was like with that urgency saying, you know what, we have to go if we want to go, because our kids are growing. My mom is also getting older, and my nephews and nieces are growing, like they're getting older also. So we want to provide to our kids that possibility of having that connection with their with my family and his family. We better go. There will never be like the perfect moment for change. And I think there's never a perfect moment for change. Sometimes we have to step up, have courage, and make the decisions we have to make. And so with that, I said, yes, okay, let's my turn now, because he had come to Brazil 15 years ago. So that's my turn now to go. And then I started that whole process of how am I gonna go through that change in my professional life? Or how do I want to take the opportunity of doing the move and rethink about myself? What are those things that I used to love that are not part of, that they don't have space in my life anymore? Are they still important? Shall I rescue some pieces of me that might be forgotten or might be, you know, over there in my wardrobe hidden? And I, as synchronicity goes, and I do believe on that very much, someone that is a mentor of mine that I really admire, who was in the program, and I know she's a good partner of you, Stella Strasdas, because we've been always in touch. She was my boss, like I've worked with her while I was in J&J a long time ago. She offered me that possibility. She said, you know, I know you're going through all those questions, and we have this program that might help you to organize your thinking and your thoughts and come up with a more structured way for you to think about your transition and to act properly on your transition. And that was a real gift to me, was really, really, really important. We, not only the program itself, but when it started was January 2021. I was at that time on vacation with my family after the whole 2020 of pandemic. We had hired a house in the countryside. So it was all of us together, my mom, my dad, my brothers, like everybody. So I started the program and on that environment, that very, I'm sorry because I got a cold, in that very cozy family environment. So it was the beginning of the program I went through on that environment, and really, really helped me to think and organize my move. So I started the program in January. We moved it to Canada at the end of July. So I left my work in Brazil at the end of June and moved at the end of July. And with a whole blank page in front of me to do whatever. And of course, I had financially planned for that, because I know it's hard to do those kinds of decisions when you were not properly planned. I think it helps. So I organized myself to not have to work immediately when we got here, which was good. And so I've been exploring things. It has been 7 months that I've been here. And it's very unique and special to see a lot of the things that I've written in paper about my roles, my new roles, the roles that I would like to place in word and make a contribution happening. So it's so powerful when we put our intention in our heart, in everything that we are doing, and being able to make choices aligned to our values. And I think that's just like things start happening. I don't feel I'm there yet in terms of like things more organized and in a flow, but I'm giving myself the time, the energy, and the openness to explore, to not make decisions yet until I have more, I feel more certain about the moves that I want to do. I've been telling to some partners that I'm working with, like, I'm only dating, I'm not ready to marry yet. So, and I'm dating a lot of people at the same time. So in terms of work, you know, like I'm trying different ways of working with different people, with different subjects, and really learning like, where is my place of contribution? People that I like to be with, and causes that I feel more connected with. So very special, Anna. And I thank you a lot for the opportunity of being through that journey with you. Like I've learned a lot, I'm still learning a lot. So thank you very much for everything, for you and for the community that you've been leading around the life revision. Like everybody's very special. So I'm glad for that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And I want to acknowledge you for listening to these life lessons. Since the passing of your brother, you've been asking some deeper questions and wanting to align with, as you said, the meaning of things, and for the sake of what you do things instead of just doing things, right? Asking yourself what is really important, what is really true. And I think when you start to ask those questions, you start to listen. And it seems like you listened when the time came for change. And I want to acknowledge you for that. Acknowledge that the capacity to listen to yourself when it's time to make a shift in life. And it's never easy. I'm sure this transition at times was complex. And it took a lot of energy and planning and letting go. And it's a whole, it's like dying to one life and being born to another. And that is, most people stay away from that because it's like a whole reinvention. So I really honor you and admire what it took to get there. And I also, yeah, my pleasure. And I also hear this honesty in navigating your transition, so that you are loyal to yourself, so that you're true to yourself in taking steps that are true. William Bridges is somebody who has written a book about transitions. I don't know if you know it, but it's...
Yes, I do.
He talks about the stages, and the ending zone is when we are ending something, and then there's the neutral zone where we are exploring, and then the new beginning. And I hear you in that neutral zone of, okay, I am exploring, I'm dating, I am just seeing what's next, but not committing too fast, because you, from my perspective, you are wanting to find what really you're passionate about, what you're really passionate about, what really, really is going to light up your heart, your soul, and bring new life to you. So what do you know about what you're interested in, passionate about at this new stage? What do you feel drawn to?
When through the methodology, we have defined some territories to work with. I've mapped 3 of them. 2 of them I'm exploring. The third one, it's still there for me to understand how it is related to the other ones. And if it's true, and I will tell about it, if it's true, a place of contribution, or if it's for me a place of nutrition of my soul. So I'm with that question, which is about culture and arts. Like I need to be in contact with some things that are like beauty and creativity and ways of expression, and it can be music, art, theater, like dance. So I need to be in touch with that all the time. So I don't know yet if that's a place for me of just nutrition, or if it's a place of contribution, or if I can work within the other 2 territories related to that. The other 2 territories that I'm certain about, one is education. So what I did, I have never worked in the business of education, or I have, I've done as a teacher a few classes, but like how to contribute to that territory. And when I talk about education, it's a way to really diminish inequality.
Mhm.
So what I did was I talked to people that work in NGOs to understand how those NGOs work. So like with the cause of education, what the role are, if I would be someone that would add value, not having the background in education. And I had so many interesting conversations. And what I have decided on that territory is that I would do a voluntary contribution on that field. So at the moment, I'm working on that field with two organizations, one in Brazil, one is called Instituto Proa, which is an organization that has designed a committee of people to help them to review the business model for their growth. They currently help 400 students after high school to get placements, and all of them coming from more vulnerable families. And they specifically support them with all the education they need, in most of them in technology, like to become programmers, do coding and that stuff, to really to go to the companies. And the goal is to have 400,000 placements by 2027. So hopefully, so that's one contribution. The other one, I was invited to become an advisory board member of a NGO called Instituto Bold that help vulnerable students that are already in university to get placements in companies. And what they've realized is that some of those students, because they did not have an opportunity to develop a broader repertoire, because they did not go abroad, they did not do exchange programs, they did not have a chance to experiment culture in a broader way. Sometimes when they go into companies, they sometimes have hard time connecting to the other people that are there. So they prepare those students for 6 months, providing them resources, classes, helping them with the needs that they have in order to be more successful when they start their internships. And once that is successful, they start developing a career that really changed their lives, not only through the income that they receive, but also the opportunities that they start having. So those are the two opportunities that I've been pursuing in that territory in the role of advisor. The other territory, it's like the major one for me, because it's where my experience is anchored, which is the human and organizational development. After those 25 years of experience, and I've worked for national companies, multinational companies, different sectors, sometimes with broader roles, and I think I have a contribution to make based on that experience too in that territory. One role that I mapped was becoming a board member for organizations. So to really helping organizations to strive on their goals, on their purpose. And for that, I've done a program for board members in Brazil, like a school in the Brazilian Institute of Corporate Governance. And then I applied for a diversity program that they have for women in order to help more women to get to boards. According to their numbers in Brazil, there is only 14.7% of women in boards. In the US, the number is 30%. And I think the first country in the world with that participation is France with 43%. But Brazil is very low, like with 14% when you compare with a lot of other countries. So in not only bringing diversity in terms of gender, but providing a different perspective and making a contribution there. So I got accepted to that program. And so I'm very happy. I started last Friday with other 34 amazing women with the same purpose. And I think it's going to be a great journey of learning and also exchange of experiences. So that's one role. The other role is to become a mentor, to really pass on my experience, learn from other people, and be in touch with different businesses and people and contacts. And that's been so, I've been enjoying so much to do this role. I don't know how many people I've so far I had an opportunity to mentor, to have conversations with, but it's dozens already since I'm here. And as synchronicity happens when the path is, it seems to be right, a friend of mine here put me in contact with a North American mentorship company. So I have associated with them and to support their clients. And so then I'm doing that now as a part of a network, a broader network of people that can be good mentors to me as well. Like they're very, very interesting. So I'm learning a lot from that as well. A third role is consultant. So to work with companies and providing them, question them, like helping them to find better ways to do what they do, to evolve. I don't know, like to be a catalyst of their evolution. So that's what I'm aiming for. And for that, when I was in Brazil, I co-led the digital transformation journey of the company that I was working with. And at the time, we hired a consultant company to help with us, a Swedish consultant company called Hyper Island. And when I came here, they said, you know what, we have a lot of customers in North America. Would you like to join the team to help us with few projects? Some experiment that as well, which is amazing. So, and they work as an holacracy organization. And I'm learning as well to play that different role, more in a network organization than in a more formal hierarchical organization. So for me, it's a learning as well, not only through the projects with clients, but also in work in a different setting of environment that I used to in my past experience. And my fourth role that I have designed is to be able to generate some thinking around human and organizational development. So I've applied for a doctor program and I was accepted. So I'm starting the program in September this year. Still thinking through, like narrowing down what that contribution will be, like what I will do research on and be able to address or help with thinking to address some of the pains that we have within organizations today. And with all of those, which seems a lot, some people told me, I can't believe, like, will you be able to perform all of those roles? And I do see them building one to another because they're very complementary as they are in the same territory. So it's different contributions and perspectives. And they are all very flexible too. Like I can pick the projects or clients like according to my availability. So that's good too. And I like to experiment that flexibility because that allows me to play my other roles in life. As a mother, as a citizen here, as a wife, as a daughter, as a sister, as a friend. So it's been for me a whole redesign of how I organize my agenda, you know, how I dedicate time to things that are important to me. And because of that, I think choices are very important. So to learn to what to say yes and to what to say no, because everything will take my time. So and my goal is to spend most of my time doing things that really light me up, that makes me feel good about like learning and making a contribution, like not being doing something for doing something. It's really about making my days more meaningful as possible.
Beautiful, beautiful. This is the definition of leading a life full of purpose, that
Yes.
you really dig in and connect to something deeper that makes sense, that is meaningful to you, and operate from there. So this is the authentic life. This is where we tune in to ourselves and are guided by our true intention and motivation. So I really acknowledge you for being a designer of your life. Or
We can all be.
yes, we can all do
We
that
can
and
all
be
be.
that. And we forget sometimes, but we need the support. And it seems like you thrived in the support that was given to you and the structure that was given to you to design these roles that complement each other very well. And they're very specific, you know, the role of volunteer, board member, mentor, consultant, doctoral student, you know, very, very specific roles that you designed and now are bringing to life in a plan, in a very clear plan. So it's beautiful, and it's very encouraging for people who are listening that they can do that. And then I know that you are someone who has causes. You want to change society. You are a change agent, and you really care deeply about social justice and about diversity and giving people opportunities to move ahead in their life and their careers. And so how is that connected to this new moment of your life, to this next chapter of your life, these causes, these important...
The causes are part of who I am and the way I think, and I think because of that, it is everywhere, like in the lenses I use and the ones that I offer in the conversations and in the point of views and in the directions. But maybe if I look at to some beliefs that I've developed throughout life, like one is around self-awareness, and I really, and I've been through that, like I've done all sorts of therapy you can imagine because of what happened to me when I was a teenager, and I keep doing it. Like I'm in search of and it's a journey that the more you search for, the more you realize you have more to search. I had a meditation instruction that she used to say that we spend our life trying to diminish the ignorance that we have about ourselves. And what I've experienced through that is that the more you know, more you trust yourself, not only about things you can do, but also learn about things that you cannot do or that you don't want to do. And you start making better choices. And when you start making those choices, you start being like a role model of courage, because a lot of people avoid making those choices because all choices have trade-offs in life. And so one of the causes that I have, it's really encourage people to find their better self and believe that they can be more if they want to. When I talk about more, whatever that more is for each one of us, we all have our values and spaces that we want to devote our energy. So whatever that is, like, but to live a meaningful life, it is important to find what those desires, wishes, and legacies you want to leave behind, and work for them. So I think that's one belief, like the self-awareness, and find the best version of us and encourage people to act on that. Diversity. I think maybe because the way I was raised, you know, I think most of the women in my family, at least from my previous generation, my grandma, they didn't work outside. Of course, they worked for the family, but I did not have, like, my mom started working after my brother died, and for her it was a way to find a distraction because it was really hard, really hard. But I did not have a lot of role models of women that, you know, went to search for their space in the world. And I realized when I started working that I also, although like started work 25 years ago, I did not have a lot of role models as well of successful women, I would say, between quotes, because success varies for each one of us, right? And I remember that the ones I was seeing, like in very top level positions in organizations, they had to give up their personal lives. They had to work more than men. So a lot of them were not married or did not have kids, or that they decided to live exclusively for work. And I remember looking at that and saying, I do not want that life for me. I don't want to just play one role in my life. I want to be part of different, you know, to have a more reach, at least for me, like that's the value that I have. And I remember thinking, like, I want to prove to myself that that's possible, to really be able to find a balance between those different roles in life. And I will look for organizations where that's possible, because there are some organizations that's not, like, they want you 100%. And I was fortunate enough to work for companies that had a shared value on that issue with me, like that I could manage my role as a mother, that I could manage my other roles, that had like a good level of dialogue and conversation, to find that balance. And I was someone at the beginning of my career that I said, I don't want to be feel privileged because I'm a woman, so the codes and everything. But then later on, I realized that if we do not have affirmative policies, those diversity levels will never happen. Like Brazil has 54% of Black people, like Afro-descendant. And if you look at the organizations, I might be mistaken with the numbers, but I think overall Brazil, you only have 5% in leadership. That's wrong. That's wrong. There is something wrong in there that we need to try to fix. And the only way to try to fix it is to look at the problem and find solutions and find a way to fix it. Because we will never have a more equality or more equity in the organization that we live if people don't have the same opportunities because of prejudices and racism and everything. So we have to do things about it. And it's the same for women. I've heard sometimes, although fortunately we've been increasing a lot the numbers of those representativeness and the issues on the table, people are talking about it and doing things about it, there is still in some spaces in our economy a lot of challenges. I talked to someone a few weeks ago that told me, you know, I've been searching for people for this organization. I'm not going to mention anything, any details there, but he said, because of their beliefs, they said, we don't want a woman. Don't even present me a woman, because I don't want a woman sitting here in my board. So we still hear those kinds of things, you know, as if we were like, I don't know, could not make any contribution. So I really advocate, and the company that I left before coming here, like when I left, it was 45% of women sitting in the board, 43% of women in the whole leadership, 12% of Black people in the leadership. We were like focusing on to really embrace diversity, but not only in the representativeness, but also including people in the conversation, like trying to understand different points of view. That's the beauty of diversity. That will help us to really bring innovation to the company. Like it's giving the voice for those that have something to say. The other cause is it's related to diversity.
Let me pause here for a second, and because we're running out of time. And you have given us a taste of how passionate you are as a person, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful to see how you have found an issue in society that clearly is wrong. With your own words, it's wrong, and you want to do something about it, and there needs to be something done. And you are so knowledgeable about how the repercussions of that and the causes of that, and so it's very inspiring to hear your passion, your interest in this, and your commitment to this. And I also, to finish and to start to actually finish this conversation, because there's so much to talk about, but we want to leave more for later. I'm touched with the fact that you didn't have role models in the ways you mentioned of having multiple roles in society, and yet you are stepping into that, and you are a role model yourself. You're a role model of courage and of inhabiting all these different roles and promoting them also in the work that you do, and finding the balance between all of these roles. And when you spoke about all of your roles, it really sounded like a beautiful biodiverse forest, like the ones in Brazil or Colombia, my country. It's a forest full of different trees and different roles and different, ways that you contribute. And this is the kind of life design that we promote at Revision Academy, because when we know ourselves, connect to ourselves, we realize we have multiple talents and we have multiple passions. And to feel full and fulfilled, we need to give voice to these passions and to these talents. And that's what I see you're doing, Ale. So thank you so much for the inspiring way you're doing this, full of passion, but also full of structure and clarity and discipline and, sustained action. So we'll keep talking in other sessions, but for now I want to just ask you to close. What is one important question that you have for your continued transition going forward?
I think it's still my passion, because I'm passionate about a lot of things, and I don't know yet if I will be a representative of a unique cause or several causes. And how am I going to position myself as I go deeper on my path? What will be the connecting essence among those roles? So I think that's the question. And the other one, we'll write another one, because I heard there was a question made to Obama when he went to the South by Southwest, give his speech when he was a president in US, and somebody asked him, like, what would you do and what would you say if you were not afraid? And I think of keeping on with that question with me, like, am I hiding myself from things that I should be doing or should be looking at yet? Or or I've already passed through that. So are my ¿cómo se habla? Medos.
Fears, our fears.
Fears, yeah. Are my fears like holding me back?
Mhm.
Or am I really like in my full potential
Mhm.
of the contribution I can give? So that's a big question for me, like if I'm managing those well, or if could move further. I don't know.
Mhm.
So
A great question for all of us. So
yeah.
thank you. Thank you, Ale, for giving us so much inspiration and insight, and also ways to look at ourselves. So thank you,
Thank you, Anna.
also
Thank you
for the
this
ones who are
space. Thank
listening.
you.
I hope that you got a lot out of this, and we look forward to seeing you in the next one.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Take care.